1. The factory provides the local community with jobs. 2. The school offers the students various extracurricular activities. 3. The hospital gives patients the best possible care. 4. The university sends research findings to international journals. 5. The company delivers products to customers across the country. 1. The power plant supplies the remote village with clean water. 2. The organization provides the remote area with medical supplies. 3. The charity brings food to the remote town with limited access. 4. The government sends aid to the remote region with essential goods. 5. The NGO distributes vaccines to the remote district with poor healthcare facilities. 1. You are not allowed to enter this area without a security pass. 2. You are not allowed to use your phone during the exam. 3. You are not allowed to park here without a permit. 4. You are not allowed to leave the building without checking out first. 5. You are not allowed to share your password with anyone. 1. You are not allowed to use this equipment without authorization. 2. You are not allowed to access this system without approval. 3. You are not allowed to tamper with this machine without consent. 4. You are not allowed to modify this tool without permission. 5. You are not allowed to operate this vehicle without a license. 1. In fact, the workers have been exposed to hazardous chemicals. 2. In fact, the residents have been exposed to extreme temperatures. 3. In fact, the patients have been exposed to a new treatment. 4. In fact, the animals have been exposed to the new virus. 5. In fact, the students have been exposed to advanced technology. 1. In fact, the inhabitants have been affected by the storm. 2. In fact, the inhabitants have been relocated to safer areas. 3. In fact, the inhabitants have been struggling with the drought. 4. In fact, the inhabitants have been warned about the upcoming flood. 5. In fact, the inhabitants have been living in poverty for years. 1. One cannot stress enough the importance of early detection in medical care. 2. One cannot underestimate the power of education in shaping society. 3. One cannot ignore the significance of environmental protection. 4. One cannot overstate the value of teamwork in achieving success. 5. One cannot emphasize enough the need for proper safety measures in the workplace. 1. One cannot ignore the potential risks of climate change. 2. One cannot underestimate the potential impact of technology on society. 3. One cannot overlook the potential benefits of renewable energy. 4. One cannot deny the potential consequences of poor decision-making. 5. One cannot underestimate the potential power of collective action. 1. You cannot emphasize enough the importance of communication in a team. 2. It's hard to emphasize the significance of early preparation for success. 3. We cannot emphasize enough the value of perseverance in achieving goals. 4. They can't emphasize enough the role of safety in industrial operations. 5. One should never emphasize the quantity over the quality of work. 1. For years, the company ignored the issue, but now, if anything, they are overreacting to it. 2. For years, the government neglected the situation, but now, if anything, they are overregulating it. 3. For years, the public dismissed the danger, but now, if anything, they are exaggerating it. 4. For years, the industry downplayed the risk, but now, if anything, they are focusing too much on it. 5. For years, the community overlooked the need for change, but now, if anything, they are demanding too much too quickly. 1. For years, the manager overlooked the problem, but now, if anything, the team is making too much of it. 2. For years, the authorities looked the problem, but now, if anything, the media is making too much of it. 3. For years, the committee overlooked the problem, but now, if anything, the public is making too much of it. 4. For years, the company overlooked the problem, but now, if anything, the competitors are making too much of it. 5. For years, the community overlooked the problem, but now, if anything, the government is making too much of it. 1. The teacher was strict, if anything, too strict with the students. 2. The movie was slow, if anything, overly long. 3. The weather was mild, if anything, a little too warm for winter. 4. The team was unprepared, if anything, underperforming in the first half. 5. The project was complicated, if anything, unnecessarily so. 1. They are making too much of the minor mistake. 2. The media is making too much of the celebrities' breakup. 3. The committee is making too much of the small budget issue. 4. Some people are making too much of the weather forecast. 5. The public is making too much of the recent controversy. 1. The press covered the event extensively. 2. The press criticized the government's decision. 3. The press ignored the controversy surrounding the issue. 4. The press reported on the latest developments. 5. The press exaggerated the details of the story. 1. As well as growing vegetables, the gardener sells them at the market. 2. As well as studying biology, she also volunteers at the local hospital. 3. As well as managing a restaurant, he teaches cooking classes. 4. As well as working as a teacher, she writes educational books. 5. As well as practicing law, the attorney invests in real estate. 1. The farmer cultivates grain to feed the local community. 2. Many farmers in the region cultivate grain for export. 3. He decided to cultivate grain rather than raise livestock on his farm. 4. They cultivate grain in large fields using modern farming techniques. 5. In addition to vegetables, she also cultivates grain on her land. 1. The farmer runs a grocery store that sells fresh produce from his farm. 2. Besides farming, the farmer runs a grocery store in the nearby town. 3. The farmer runs a grocery store offering local goods to the community. 4. The farmer runs a grocery store where customers can buy homemade jams and fresh eggs. 5. To supplement his income, the farmer runs a grocery store alongside his farming activities. 1. The company was founded in the early 2000s. 2. The university was built in the mid-1980s. 3. The museum was opened in the early 1900s. 4. The factory was constructed in the late 1970s. 5. The hospital was inaugurated in the early 1990s. 1. The Science Institute was established in the 1950s. 2. The Art Institute was established in the early 20th century. 3. The Medical Institute was established in 2001. 4. The Research Institute was established in the mid-1980s. 5. The Technology Institute was established in the late 1990s. 1. Why don't you ask Sarah for advice? She's by far the most experienced in the field. 2. Why don't you speak with John directly? He's by far the most knowledgeable expert on the subject. 3. Why don't you visit the doctor for a checkup? She's by far the best physician in town. 4. Why don't you consider hiring Jack? He's by far the most skilled carpenter in the area. 5. Why don't you contact Mary for help? She's by far the most reliable person for the job. 1. Why don't you ask the manager in person? He's by far the most experienced around here. 2. Why don't you meet the professor in person? She's by far the most knowledgeable around here. 3. Why don't you speak to the director in person? He's by far the most respected around here. 4. Why don't you consult the doctor in person? She's by far the best around here. 5. Why don't you talk to the expert in person? He's by far the most qualified around here. 1. I'll take a picture just in case because I tend to forget things easily. 2. I'll set a reminder just in case because I often lose track of time. 3. I'll make a note just in case because I have a tendency to forget important details. 4. I'll save it on my phone just in case because I sometimes forget where I put things. 5. I'll write it on my calendar just in case because I might forget the date. 1. I'll bring an umbrella just in case it rains later. 2. I'll save the document just in case my computer crashes. 3. I'll double check the details just in case there's a mistake. 4. I'll keep the receipt just in case I need to return it. 5. I'll pack some extra snacks just in case we get hungry during the trip. 1. I wrote it down just in case I forget the details. 2. She wrote it down just in case she needed to refer to it later. 3. He wrote it down just in case something went wrong. 4. They wrote it down just in case they had to provide proof. 5. We wrote it down just in case there was a misunderstanding. 1. I have a bad memory, so I always make lists to keep track of things. 2. I have a bad memory, so I set reminders on my phone. 3. I have a bad memory, so I write everything down to avoid forgetting. 4. I have a bad memory, so I keep important notes on my desk. 5. I have a bad memory, so I try to stay organized to help me remember things. 1. I have a bad memory, so I always write things down to remember them. 2. I have a bad sense of direction, so I always use a GPS when driving. 3. I have a bad habit of procrastinating, so I always set deadlines for myself. 4. I have a bad sleep schedule, so I always try to take naps during the day. 5. I have a bad temper, so I always try to stay calm in stressful situations. 1. The doctor recommended that the patient undergo further tests. 2. The teacher recommended that the student study more for the exam. 3. The consultant recommended that the company improve its marketing strategy. 4. The coach recommended that the player focus on improving their stamina. 5. The financial advisor recommended that the couple save more for retirement. 1. The lawyer recommended that his client settle the case out of court. 2. The lawyer recommended that his client hire an expert witness. 3. The lawyer recommended that his client gather all relevant documents. 4. The lawyer recommended that his client avoid discussing the case publicly. 5. The lawyer recommended that his client seek medical attention immediately. 1. The lawyer advised his client to take legal action against the contractor. 2. The company decided to take legal action against the competitor for unfair practices. 3. The tenant is considering taking legal action against the landlord for neglecting repairs. 4. The employee decided to take legal action against the company for wrongful termination. 5. The consumer is planning to take legal action against the manufacturer for faulty products. 1. The insurance company took immediate action to resolve the claim. 2. The insurance company took the necessary steps to investigate the incident. 3. The insurance company took a long time to process the application. 4. The insurance company took responsibility for the damages caused by the accident. 5. The insurance company took legal action to recover the costs from the third party. 1. The workers are entitled to be compensated for their overtime hours. 2. The customers are entitled to be refunded for the faulty product. 3. The employees are entitled to be compensated for their unused vacation days. 4. The tenants are entitled to be compensated for the damage caused by the leak. 5. The victims are entitled to be compensated for the harm caused by the accident. 1. They are entitled to receive health care benefits under the contract. 2. They are entitled to claim a refund if the service was unsatisfactory. 3. They are entitled to access all company resources for their project. 4. They are entitled to participate in the meeting as shareholders. 5. They are entitled to a discount based on their loyalty to the brand. 1. The workers suffered injuries during the accident on the factory floor. 2. The athletes sustained injuries during the game and had to be treated immediately. 3. The car crash caused serious injuries to the passengers. 4. The doctor assessed the injuries and recommended rest and rehabilitation. 5. The injuries from the fall were severe enough to require surgery.